rise and stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Where do you want to start on this one? Want a fact check from our last one?
Not really, but yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Scott was in last week, and then we had a conversation about what Rutland was doing with their local option tax. And with what I had sent out on the flyer to the town. And I need to make a correction. I think I said Rutland Town has a 2% tax, and that is wrong. Rutland Town only has a 1% tax, and they do manage that themselves. When I was talking with the treasurer to verify last week, I misunderstood what they were saying. They're looking into doing the local option tax just like we are, but they don't have that in place yet. So there was a misunderstanding there. But yeah, Mr. Scott, he was correct in that there was only the 1% on rooms and meals.
Anything else? Just to open it up?
Yeah, it's the same stuff as last time. Nothing has changed other than the fact check on that one.
Yep.
I guess, can I say what I've heard?
Sure.
I guess I've heard a lot about, there's some confusion on what the funds would actually go to be used for. I think maybe in our flyer, there were examples given, for example, painting a fence or, whatever those examples may be. But those aren't hard and fast uses for that money. And I'm not speaking for the board, just what I have understood is that there was an intent to use that money to pay off our bond debt out of our budget. Beyond that, it is kind of open. That money hasn't been allocated. Nobody's said they'll use it for this or that. And if this passes, there would have to be, I would recommend having a policy in place, so that way everybody knows these are the steps to use the extra money. That I say extra, but use the additional funds that may come into the town. So I hope is that a bit more clear?
I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, and just, my only comment was if someone were to ask, you can check to see if my understanding is close to being correct or way off. If the 1% option tax goes through, just where is that money gonna be spent? Because that's what I think most people are asking.
Yeah.
My answer would be that, we have a payment for our bond of that $74,000.
Call it 75.
Well, of that 110 that we get, that payment which now is part of your taxes, that payment would be made from there, so we wouldn't be taking that out of our taxpayers. But any leftover money goes into this pool that would be used for future infrastructure improvements. And I think when you were talking about wanting a policy, I'm saying, and my understanding would be, before we'd ever spend that money, we put it out to the voters, the taxpayers, to say, here's where we'd like to spend it, yes or no. They say yes, that's where that pool of money gets spent to fix infrastructure. They say no, it stays right in that pool, keeps being generated until we get something they want. That's my understanding of it. So if that's what everyone, because that's how I would, if someone asked me on the street, what's it being used for? That's what I tell them.
And it's new, this Fairhaven has never done this before. We're taking examples from other towns and making it our own. So what works for one town may not work for us, but we'll find our path. And we'll do it in an open, transparent way, so that way folks know that that's their money and it's going to be used for their town and for what they want. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there any other questions that we should answer from last hearing, or should I open it up? Let's open it up.
Nope.
Who wants to start?
here the last time, so I have no idea what you talked about. So you're talking about out of this $110,000, $75,000 is going to an upcoming bond payment, is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not
Well,
upcoming.
we already voted in a bond to do our transfer station, and in order to pay it, the way we paid it is all the taxpayers are paying like about $74,000 comes out for taxes, which the water and sewer users pay that as well. And on top of that, last year, the water and sewer rates went up to pay the rest, so that the total bond payment is paid for by all the taxpayers, plus the water and sewer people who get those services are paying additionally a higher rate. And that's how we pay for the bond that we voted in, what was it, 2 years ago? or That we voted the bond in
Last year.
last year? Because that was the whole reason why we asked the 1% option tax to go through, so we wouldn't have to take more money. So if it does go through, what we wanted to do was to go back and live to what we said the first time, and that was that we weren't gonna put that payment on all the taxpayers. We would take it out of the 1% option tax. I don't know if that answers.
Well, it does answer my question, but when the bond was floated and approved, there had to be some way calculated in there about paying the annual amount due. So now all of a sudden we're coming up with a new tax. That's my guess, the $74,000. If this is not approved, where's the $74,000 coming from?
Where it is today.
Yeah, it's already in the budget, it was taken out last year, and it's in the budget to be taken out this year.
When he says taken out, it's part of your taxes,
Part of your
property taxes.
Yeah,
But I don't understand, so, all right, let's say I really don't have any comment about that, because I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently about it. So that would be leaving the town $35,000. Where is the $35,000 going? And who decides, first of all, $35,000 is not a tremendous sum of money. Who makes the decisions and who vetoes the decisions? Because I mind my own business here, but I hear things about, oh, they're gonna do this, and then I hear gossip, which is what everybody hears. That's not going to happen. So I think that there's a lack of transparency here that people have a concern about. And out of that 160, why is the state getting 50,000 of it?
30% is a fee for administering the program. So they do all the legwork, collect the money from the vendors, and then distribute it back. Whereas like Rutland City, right, they're collecting their own, but they have to
But they
have,
incur the cost of collection, I
That's right.
understand that, so.
And it also
30%,
forces,
is that reasonable?
it also forces the
it's a step.
merchants to have the ability in their POS system, point of sale system,
Right.
to have a third tax. You have second tax. You have the state tax,
State
6%.
tax,
And then they have to have a second line that says they gotta calculate 1% over on the side. So now the merchant has to write a different check. So the merchant is helping the city administer it.
In terms of they're reporting how much money they've collected and then somehow or
Right.
other when they.
Right.
send
See,
it.
right now, they have to send it, reporting to the state.
How do those merchants feel about the added tax? I can imagine if you were Shaw's, you might not care. You might care if you were the Wooden Soldier or the Fairhaven Inn, because meals out are taxed, correct?
that's correct.
So I would assume that if you buy milk at Stewart's, that's not taxed, but if you get an ice cream cone, which is food that you eat,
Mhm.
that's taxed, correct?
Sounds about right.
Sounds right. And the business people, to answer your question about how they feel about it, what I've been hearing is, I haven't heard many business people that are in favor of the 1%, but how you, the business people, like anything else, either choose to absorb the 1% or would just tack it onto the price of what they think they would be trying to recoup. But
I understand what you're saying, but I also have a thought that once you put a tax in, it never goes away. It never goes away, and over some period of time, it might creep up to 1.5% or 2% or whatever. And I don't know. I just have no sense. I think there's so many things around town that aesthetically need to be, I mean, we're talking about small aesthetic things, painting things that just need paint. $35,000 spread out over the course of the year, what are we gonna get for that? It seems like a drop in the bucket. I mean,
So,
That's the balance.
yeah, so the balance, as Glenn and I had just discussed, it sounds like it would be up to the taxpayers to decide how to use that money.
and that would be voted on every year? I mean, we're gonna be voting on small amounts of money, like, it's obviously not gonna be, if somebody's looking for $500 to do something, I mean, is that gonna be addressed by voting?
I think that is the idea, right? The board would be approached by people with their ideas, or we would present ideas, and they would be on the ballot to allocate, with the other appropriations, to allocate $500, so $7,000 to paint the park fence. Do the voters approve to come from this fund? That kind of thing. Or, allocate $7,000 to go towards the payment of a bond to, do water infrastructure or something.
Okay, well, all right, I'm understanding that, but then, kind of in the background there, I mean, I don't know how this thing is gonna get off, and when it does, I don't imagine it's gonna, hopefully it's gonna move quickly, but that's a lot to ask for. If all this money is being released by the federal government for infrastructure things, so, anything that has to do with our roads or any of that stuff should be coming out of that money that's gonna be coming from the federal government when they start dispensing it. So is this other amount just little piddly things that they would not get to? Or, I guess $35,000 spread out over a town in the course of a year isn't a lot of money.
But it'll really be 100.
it's 110,000.
No, I understand that, but
So-
74 of it is, or 75 is going to reduce
Whole-
debt that we have already incurred.
That's right. Which should lower taxes.
If this doesn't get approved, both of them, I know,
Then it stays
where's the money coming from?
status quo.
Status quo.
And these other things don't get done, potentially.
When we do the budget each year and we try the aesthetic things, like painting the park fence, like fixing the Cedar Grove Cemetery fence, work behind the grade school, usually when we're looking and trying to keep the increase in your tax rate so it's manageable, those are some of the first things that fall off, that you say, they're nice to do, but we just can't afford to do them. So what we're looking at is hopefully, in $35,000, you may have to
Maybe
take a
2
few
years.
years and let it build so that you can do a major project, because the infrastructure that, I can only speak for myself, that I was thinking, were things like, we have such an aging water and sewer line system and between
The big stuff.
the big stuff, and I would think you wouldn't wanna be voting every year. I would think you would wanna take and build it up and try to use some of that monies along with to get your match or to do something for some grants in order to get the big items to keep our taxes where we all can afford it. Was the thought.
It was just an example.
Definitely the way to
it was an example of the process.
Yeah.
Joe?
I know 35,000 for an entire town does sound, like small money, maybe for some, but, if you ever come to a board meeting and watch as we go through the budget, it's literally dollars, tens of dollars, $20, $15. That's how tight the Board of Selectmen cut the budget to make sure that they're not overtaxing. So when we say 35,000, that is, for us in a budget, it's a huge amount, because we really do go in and say, you know, we're gonna cut 10 here and 20 here, because it's just in an attempt to keep the taxes low, as low as we can.
Any other comments, questions?
What you've listed on here, for
Got
example,
time.
these are the only towns that have this right now, correct?
This,
Burlington has it,
I can't.
correct?
yeah, that's just a selected sample. I
Oh,
didn't put
There-
everything
there's-
on there.
I think there's 16.
I didn't.
Well, I just think it's, I mean, whether you call it if a tax is a tax is a tax. And,
It's all where you get the money from, right?
well, you
It's-
know, and I
that's
mean,
what it comes
I
down to.
understand that there, I mean, I understand that there are things that need to be done around here, because I think that there is there's some real opportunity to change things in a good way, but I also know that there's a lot of resistance to change generally. People don't want things to change. They want to stay the way that it is, and, you know, so you have these two forces butting heads, like, you know, like someone said to me, oh, you know, have you been to the brew pub here? And I said, I can't even imagine going to a brew pub in Fairhaven on a Friday night or something like that. That's a mindset.
Well, and it's supposed to be sweet scoops, right?
Wait a minute.
Sorry.
No,
Well,
you
it-
can't.
the-
And people, and a lot of, and it seems to me, and I'm a transplant and a flatlander, and so I'm of the impression that, people are very resistant to change here. They don't want it to change. But yet we all complain about the lack of whatever is here.
Well, this,
Well, we're gonna have a dog park, and I don't get that, so,
thi-
no. And I like
That's why
dogs.
you don't get it.
Well, I do like dogs.
All right, let's keep
That's
it on
all
the
another
1%.
story.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Yeah,
but
Val.
the local option tax was seen as a way of putting some of the responsibility for the town's infrastructure on the people who use the infrastructure but don't live here. And those are the people that are coming in, they're using our roads.
Yeah.
Those are the out-of-staters, okay? It's a very small tax to apply to them. Now, is that net catching some local individuals as well? Absolutely. But if you look at any of the parking lots at any one part of the day, and there's maybe 50% or 60% of the cars have New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, all these license plates. They're here to use our infrastructure and go enjoy themselves. And Vermont is a very, outdoorsy state, and they're enjoying our state. We can't tax them any other way other than sales tax. So, yes, there are people that are caught in the net that are local. But if you look at any of the parking lots, a lot of them are going to be out-of-staters.
Oh, yes, I know.
So this is the only way that we can put some of the responsibility for our infrastructure improvements on the people who are also using it.
And I don't think that 1% is going to deter those people from
No.
coming. I don't think people are gonna say, oh, I'm not paying a penny on a dollar to go there.
They pay it almost everywhere they go anyhow.
Right.
You know.
Well, sometimes sometimes I think they come here, I mean, look at what they say when they come here to get their gas, so.
Right, right.
Right.
And the New Yorkers, almost all of them are paying more at home.
Oh, I know, that's what I'm saying.
So, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a deterrence for 1%.
The other thing that we didn't discuss tonight, that we discussed last time, was the other thing on the warrant is an item about dispensaries.
Oh, yes.
If that passes,
The marijuana dispensary.
and there was a cannabis marijuana dispensary in Fairhaven, this would be the only way to tax their revenue. We have,
Need anything else, you got a dispensary.
say what?
You wouldn't need anything else, you got a dispensary account.
But the only way that I would get the 1% from that is this tax.
Right.
Colorado, Washington, Oregon.
So, I don't know if that's gonna pass, I don't know if we'll get a dispensary, but that would be the only way to capitalize.
And also, the board just approved a permit for the fireworks, retail sales. Their primary, customer base is New York. They don't sell very much to, Vermonters. They sell it to New Yorkers. They were selling it to New Yorkers in Rutland. Now they're bringing their base closer, well, their store closer to their base. They anticipate most of their sales is gonna be New York sales, or out-of-state sales.
And that's gonna be, if that happens, that's gonna be a business that's gonna open here.
It's gonna happen. Yeah, it's in May, I think they're anticipating.
I don't know if that's gonna be like a permanent business or just.
We hope so.
It's seasonal.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be-
It is seasonal, on 9 months, off 3, something like that.
Can I ask, when I'm on the planning commission, we did get the permit for that aspect of it, but what happens now? Is there still further permitting that has to go on?
Well,
And they gotta come to Joe, right, and get their permit.
Right.
We've scheduled them up for April.
And there must be a process in case where they're going, neighbors or whatever have, is there a meeting probably for people to say?
Planning commission.
The planning commission, right.
Okay,
They've already got.
they've already done it.
Yeah,
so
so that's a
Yep.
good deal.
That was the big, that was the
Because the
main
location
hurdle.
was on the planning commission.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that was the main
so
hurdle.
I think that's an important point too, is that the fireworks will be taxable. So
Right.
it looks like that is,
And none of these things are gonna be huge windfalls necessarily, but every little bit.
Every little
adds
bit,
up.
yeah.
Is that the same fireworks place right across from Home Depot?
Well, it's the same people, yes, they're gonna move.
You seen that shit show lately, Rod?
But in Rutland? No.
Like chased a burglar around it the other day and got him, and there was unbelievable trash out on there. Billboards and signs and things put up against their Quonset hut. I was like, that's coming to Fairhaven? Literally,
I haven't
ran around
seen that.
chasing the guys around that building, around them trailers, and there was just.
Well, they're not even there at this, I'm not even sure
That's
they're,
it, but all their old billboards and everything's thrown up against the sides of the Quonset,
Huh.
it's not a.
okay, well,
It's
Yeah,
an
a
eyesore.
wicked eyesore. I said,
okay, well,
yeah, somebody knew.
knowing that, we have the advantage of
Next time you go up there,
addressing
look
it.
at it, and it looks like
That would
somebody
be
dumped
code
an 18-wheeler box of signs there.
Zoning and,
Zoning, code
Yep.
enforcement
Yep.
to
Yeah.
make sure that doesn't happen.
and that's a constant fight with
Of course
everyone.
it is, you're not gonna win that. Whatever, you gave me permission to do it, it's my property, I can do what I want.
well, it won't be his property, he didn't buy the property, yeah.
You see it all the
Yeah,
time.
We do see it all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look at it. I'm gonna have to look at it,
Yeah, you,
That's what I said.
It's in your front yard.
yeah.
Here's that been ringing.
I got one thing, after the last meeting, I took some notes and went home, sit down on my calculator, I'm kind of a pea-brain, common sense type fellow, but anyways. I was thinking the average person here in Fairhaven, I'm thinking the average homeowner in Fairhaven is around $4,000 to $6,000 a year in taxes. Give or take, maybe some more, maybe some less. You take 1% of that, it amounts to about same person would have to spend
That's right.
$30,000 in town on taxable items in order to spend that same money.
That's right.
Now, I realize this is not gonna come off all the taxes right off the top, but over time, long-term, I think it's gonna save money. I really do.
That's, we don't have the desire, the board doesn't have the desire to just, lower these taxes here, but get more over here. We want to get more from the out-of-staters, because they're using our infrastructure, and we're not getting anything for it.
I mean, I'm sure just about everybody goes to Saratoga now and then and shop. You're paying it down there.
Mhm.
You're paying it in Rutland. You're paying it most every Burlington. It's not a big deal, I don't think.
We've got some more time if anybody wants anything else.
I was kind of surprised there were so few people here.
Me too.
Yeah, because there were people who were saying they were coming back
Right.
this week, and so I wanted to hear
I expected.
discussion.
Well, we got the door closed. Come on in.
I agree with it. Usually out of stairs.
You can
1% is enough.
you can leave that open a little bit so people know. Yep. John, did you have any comment for the hearing? We're just about to wind down.
What hearing's that?
The
1%.
1%.
The 1% option.
No, I've been going to watch, no.
All right. Going once, going twice kind of situation here.
Too late, Mayor.
All right. I need a motion, don't I?
I'll make a motion that we close the information hearing on the 1%.
Was there anyone online?
Oh, good question.
No, nobody came online.
No one,
Oh,
okay.
I peeked
Nice
around.
save.
We're closed.
I peeked
I'm
around
just
and
interim.
Nobody had
Don't-
signed up yet.
Don't blame me.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Glenn, second from Rod to close the
Close
public
the-
hearing at 6:30.
Yep.
My angle on the clock is a little tricky. 6:27.
6:20.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. The pledge and the 1%.
Mhm.
So I guess it's amendments to the agenda. Anybody have anything?
No, sir.
Nope.
Appointment with bond counsel, paperwork review and ratification.
So bond council's here to help us, to help walk us through signing the small stack of paperwork. Elijah, I don't know your last name.
Emerson.
Emerson?
Yep.
Mr. Emerson. So the way I imagined it, I would introduce the document, and then he would give you a little explanation, and then, if that works
Sure.
for the board.
Sure, that works.
Okay, so, the first document is a resolution and certificate for the bond.
What bond
Which
is this?
bond? Yeah.
This is for the actual water sewer bond, for the sewer bond, excuse me.
The sewer bond.
Yes.
that will work.
So what we had to do,
The big one.
yeah, the big one, we had to get interim financing from the bank. And now the bond is actually being done, and we're receiving the bond money and the grant to pay off, that interim financing.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, I could use a motion, and then if we need an explanation, Mr. Emerson's here.
And is that the number that you want in the motion?
We can just, sign the resolution and certificate for the bond.
And don't have to worry about saying what it was for?
If you want.
Okay, no. I'll make a motion to sign the resolution and certificate for the bond, the sewer bond.
Second.
Motion by Glenn, second by Rod. Any discussion? Is that enough?
If you want any sort of explanation of any of these documents, I'll give it to you. If not, really just need signatures on them.
Okay.
How much is the bond for?
The bond that I'm looking at here says that, let me see if it changes on the next page, though. What I'm looking at says $3,720,000.
Yeah, it's, I apologize. I'm covering for Paul Giuliani,
Mhm.
so he's familiar much more with the history. I believe roughly half of it is in the form of a grant that doesn't need to be paid back, so it's an over $6 million project.
Right.
And then this is a bond loan with USDA for the other portion. And this was approved by voters, I believe, in 2019.
Motion by Glenn, second by Rod to approve the resolution. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And you want us to sign?
Yes. Yes.
This is why Chris had me do this one.
Here.
You must have
Anywhere
those-
here?
Yep, those three spaces, where are they?
Next.
We also have the tax certificate, and this is also for the bond, same amount of money.
Need a motion on that one too?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we sign the tax certificate for the bond,
Water sewer bond.
sewer bond.
Motion by Glenn, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rod. Any discussion?
This document is really just making representations, as to the tax exempt status of the bond. So, it's a requirement under federal law to make this certification.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anywhere here? Next one, Joe.
Okay, this is the actual bond itself. This is the approval of the public sewer system improvement bond for $3.72 million.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the bond itself, $3.72 million for sewer bond.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Glenn, second by Rod. Any discussion?
What it says is this is the actual bond.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. That's it?
That's it. I have some other paperwork for the treasurer clerk, but
And you, by authorizing the resolution, you authorize the town's officers to take all the steps they need to, signing the other documents as well.
Okay.
That's all I need.
Thank you.
Relatively painless. Thank you for coming.
Oh, that's not painless.
The signing was painless. The paying is going, you're right.
But a lot of work's getting done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, appreciate you coming out.
All right, approval of minutes, January 25th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 25th.
Motion by Rod, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Glenn. Any discussion or changes?
I didn't see anything.
They look good.
Couldn't have delayed that one until March, right, Joe?
what, the bond? Yeah, sorry, you gotta sign that one. Your name's on it.
We're good.
No changes? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 5 minutes for public comment. And that's 5 minutes for all of you together. Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
I think you guys met my wife last time.
Oh, really? That was, no.
So, we've been talking at home, believe it or don't. So the broadband, the best way for us to get going on that is probably through the CUD that we went to, back 2 or 3 years ago. Having looked at what's going on with that now, we're one of the only towns that doesn't have a representative designated, so we need to do that quickly. My suggestion is quickly being that we advertise that there's an opening and that we're looking for certain qualifications that probably would be helpful. With somebody with a basic understanding of what's going on. The people on that, the staff on that CUD, the Otter Valley CUD, they look like cliche techies from Silicon Valley, and they're all 20. So, it ain't me, babe, and it ain't somebody, it's somebody your age or younger that can understand the basic part of it. So,
You said
we need to find somebody with but we need places. The other thing that they've done is, which I couldn't find in a brief look at their list today, they've already designated places that are really tough to get broadband into. So I don't know where we're at that. I know that we don't have a very good system here. As everybody knows, if you try to get any kind of reception or any kind of access. So we should be getting to that quickly, and we should be finding somebody that can understand the problems and understand and knows the town and can relate that to the Otter Valley PUD. And that's all I'll say.
So I was gonna bring this up later, but I was thinking about kicking that over towards the Energy Committee and saying, you know, I know you have a lot on your plate, but could you look into where we should head with this, with the telecommunications? You know,
I don't know if it's
Do you-
really in our.
should we just, I didn't know if we should push it to Joe to send out that RFP for, or
I mean,
request for people.
I don't think that we would be sorry, or we would not take it on. I'm just not sure. It's kind of a stretch.
Just to add a whole nother committee, we don't really have the people.
And to be perfectly honest, and I think you heard this too from my wife, and
Fine.
committees are a way to take it off your plate and put it on somebody else's plate,
And get it done.
sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll start with.
The thing that I always say is talk to the people that are on the downtown development committee and see how satisfied they are. So it rests on the boards. It should be on the board. We've got to keep it on the front burner. And however that works. And I don't think the Energy Committee would be against doing that.
It was more to get the specs for that person that you're looking for.
Yeah, well, that could be it.
We joined the CUD about a year ago, and we spent a year, and in all fairness, probably we didn't beat the bushes real hard, but when we asked for volunteers, none came forward to be the representative. So we'll
Let's put out another ad. It's not that hard.
There was one other element, and maybe Bob, you're gonna talk to it, because I thought at the last meeting, it was the one about Green Mountain Power and substandard grid. I do believe that is something our Energy Committee
Yeah, oh, yeah.
can be very active, and I would ask you, the Energy Committee,
We
put some
actually
work-
have a letter going to
Good.
TV, coming to the board to go to the Green Mountain Power. Regarding that and other things, but regarding that for sure. I mean, that's one of the basics.
and not looking to, throw something over the other fence, because I thought Tracy brought up some pretty good stuff. The concern was, okay, now who's gonna do this work? Because even once we get a representative, I think it's an important step to have a representative on the CUB, but also probably it would be great to have a telecommunications committee, but again, where am I gonna get the volunteers? I'd love to see the stakeholders, like.
We can advertise it.
Like the school to say, hey, does anyone want to? And maybe we can go out because I think the school has, just about everyone has a dog in the fight. I mean, there's the school, there's the town, there's enough people who can, it's not just broadband, it's cell towers, there's a lot more, I think, there too. So to your point, we need to do something.
There,
Yep.
and get her hand up saying, we want some consideration.
Mhm.
And it's the Otter Valley, it's Brandon that's starting it, so we're already behind the 8 ball because we're the other side of Bird's Eye again. And so we need to be
Thank you.
Anything else? 5 minutes.
Sidewalk.
Yeah?
How you doing? You know, who I am.
Yep.
I just got a suggestion to make about clearing some sidewalks.
Okay.
You got this new little snow blower, which is wider than the snow blower, sidewalks. It takes from the inner sidewalk right to the curb. Instead of blowing it, all the dirty snow and stuff that's come off the road into the sidewalks onto the people's lawns, why don't you use that snow blower, utilize it, and blow it into the back of a dumpster? You're hauling snow away to piles now.
I think it's just the people. Logistically, we don't have the people to man a truck next to the snow blower all night long and get those
Don't
sidewalks
need
clean.
all night long. You
But
only
that's
have two
me
main-
speaking out of
main
turn.
sidewalks.
Aaron?
There's only a few main sidewalks. The guy woke me up at 1:12 the other morning. Well, it hit my windows and did the other end of the fence. So now I have the whole fence. It's not my concern, it's all the dirty stuff also is in the yard. It don't take much. I've removed snow before here and there throughout my life, and just, your machine is wide enough. Blow it in the back of the dump truck. Take the time. Just no, try it. You might see a lot more happier faces.
John?
We've got a problem on West Street, both sides of the street, there's a cemetery. That salt from the road should not be blown on the marble insults. It deteriorates them bad. That's what makes them all turn black.
Okay.
The suggestion of trying to blow it into a truck, that's something we contemplated. As Jeff stated, it's not something that would be easily had. The sidewalk machine has 39 hours in clearing the sidewalks all by itself this last storm. So for me to tie up another guy in a truck for 39 hours to sit side by side with him would be, I would not have half the rest of the stuff done either, so.
It's 2 trucks. Because one's gotta be dumping while the other one's loading.
Essentially, yeah. The machine itself, while it looks like it might blow it in the back truck, it's not gonna be that effective. That machine has to move it at snail's pace to try and move that heavy wet stuff, so. Trying to get it in the back of the truck the whole entire time it's doing this operation, especially on some of these other roads where we're 4 feet, 5 feet from the curb, it's not feasible.
Those you wouldn't have to do it.
So,
If you're 4 or 5 feet from the curb, you can make it right by the curb.
so we're
Instead
still
of people's lawns.
putting it in people's lawns, you've been on those roads, blowing it
Took me
over their
3 years to
fences.
put my lawn back together. And the other night they did in my holly bush.
Is there enough room to go to make the snowbank between the sidewalk and the road in spots? Or does that
Some
cause a lot of
streets are.
problem when you plow?
So.
Just a question.
The issue road, the main issue roads are all of North Main, all of Carnarvon, where it's curb, sidewalk, and then lawn. There's no room in between for the snow to sit, because if I leave the snow in the road, now I'm cutting the road down and it's not passable, as well as covering all my storm drains. So any rain event or snow melt like we're seeing now sits on the road and then overnight ices every night, so. The best we can do is we have to have the snow off to the curb and then try and get that snow off the sidewalk at the same time, so.
And it, yeah, perfect. Any other comments?
No.
Joe has a comment.
A question, so, and I'm gonna say it correctly, or, I'm sorry, Lycona? Lycona, Mr. Lycona popped in my office today, and, I had mentioned the snow removal again. And with the understanding that we don't customize plowing for everybody, but we're also a customer service. We do customer service, that's what our town does. And he said, can't you just try? And if I'm a person who says, well, like when we talked about the 1% option tax, let's try. So if the board doesn't mind, is it possible to just try blowing that snow in these locations where we're having trouble?
Just do it on your narrower streets, like Carnarvon. the kids are walking in the snow. I mean, I was watching them yesterday, they're walking on top of the snowbanks, which I know you didn't do yet.
We're
But that
we're trying to,
intersection of Allen and Furnace there.
we're trying to find a solution to a problem.
I mean, you,
is the, and I understand what you're saying there. Some of our real narrow streets and our sidewalks with their telephone pole that sits in the wrong place and everything else, is the problem that our big snow blower is blowing it far and doing too much damage? Are there some of our real narrow streets that a smaller snow blower that would get through? I don't know. The other thing, because I was trying to think about your problem and since the last meeting, is how do you get through these places? Because I understand when you're trying to get the sidewalks, and this is what the equipment I have. But are there some, because some of our side streets that there's the obstacles, and even on Main Street out here, the obstacles are set up that you almost need the conventional walk behind snow blower to do the ones, not to damage the fence and not to have the power that blows the stuff half across the lawn. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if we had an answer, because nobody wants this problem, no one wants their stuff.
as far as,
Everybody understands it's a huge job. You get tons of snow all at the same time, you gotta try to make everybody happy all at once. It must be really hard. But, like, I know 3 years ago, you were using a smaller snow blower and blowing it onto the curb, and the sidewalks were clear. Like, the equipment we got now, it just seems, it's too big, too powerful for those.
So that snow blower hasn't changed in 3 years. The snow blower is the exact same one we've used for years. The only thing that's changed is the machine itself.
is it
We
as,
used to use when we had the cafe down there, it was yellow.
is it as simple as just flipping the flipper down a little bit?
It was a bobcat.
Most of the
No,
time.
the skid steer is different, but the blower's the same.
Oh,
Same
okay.
size.
Right.
I don't know if that's what,
Usually the chute is locked down tight, because we don't want it too
Okay.
far out of where we're shooting it.
okay,
So if you take a tour around, there's not very many spots where that machine's allowed to open up and actually let it go, because we can't allow it to do it. So that machine's best stayed choked down and causes more issues for trying to get down the road, because you can't actually let the snow go like it needs to. It has to stay choked up all the time.
But I don't think putting it in people's lawns should be an option, you know, because it killed like the
Yeah.
third of our lawn that was closest to the sidewalk.
I have to,
It's not,
If I had that problem, if I snowblowed my own sidewalk, I live right here and I had the same problem. So if I didn't like the way the towns do it, why don't I do it myself?
We did do it
I do it
ourselves.
myself.
Right, and I do mine.
I do it, I do the neighbors next door.
Right, so I mean, that,
so then
that makes
there,
it easier on the town, there shouldn't be a problem.
so then there's just no snow when he gets there, right?
yeah, but they still
I don't
go
think
through
the
the
drains
big
out.
ring, even though the sidewalk
Yeah,
is perfectly
right,
clear
right,
and someone
yeah,
can
the
walk
roads
down
and
it,
everything
they
else.
still come along and blow all the snow that's sitting on the curb into our yard.
Well
So
then,
that's why we're, you know,
So-
and.
so then there was more.
So-
Okay.
So that's the reason.
That'd be hard on the machine, because that stuff that's left over from the last storm, I was getting chunks like this.
Yeah.
And that snowblower's not gonna take, no snowblower's gonna take a chunk of ice like that, or that.
Joe and Aaron are gonna see what they can
They're
do.
gonna see what they can do to work.
And this is a very unique situation. It's not something that we come across a lot, but we're trying to work with you. But we just don't know how, there's no space, and we just don't know what the solution is yet. But we'll figure something out. And we appreciate your patience. It's not any fun to have to regrow that grass.
But it's not the only place in town that the snow blows onto the grass. I do have to
No.
throw that out.
Yeah,
No,
right.
It's just where the fence is, and there's a few tight areas is the
Yep.
point I'm trying to make.
Okay. Anything else for public comment? Anybody else? We can't be done yet. It's only been 25 minutes.
Hey, that's,
No, we're good? Okay.
yeah.
Department head reports. Who wants to go first? We've got everybody here tonight, which is fun.
Yeah, the whole party's here.
Oh, it looks like Bill's elected.
Winter has been good to us, it has not been good to Aaron. We had, the last 2 weeks, we've had just 2 arrests. We had one DUI refusal the other night, and then we arrested the third one in the series from the car break-ins and the mail thefts. We finally got her last night and arrested her, so that's the third suspect in that. All those cases have been wrapped up, and those 3 people, that was plagued us from October into December. Been attending dispatching meetings. Aaron said on the same meetings, there's no definite what they're gonna do. Right now, the Department of Public Safety managed to get the governor to appropriate $11 million into this budget. It's also to be approved by legislature. And then 11 million would be divided up around the county with the goal of going back to what they are need to get away from, to a regional center. That money would be funded to support regional centers, and there's no funding mechanism after the grant money runs out. The governor's adamant, no taxes, no fees, but obviously it would come down to the municipal level if that went. There's been a lot of proposals about maybe a county tax for every town to pay for that service, but there's been no traction on that. I have another meeting next week. That's the best I can tell you at this point. So there's possibly $11 million coming. The biggest issue is who's the agency that's gonna run it, who's gonna provide benefits, there's no government to support, there's no entity to support, short of the sheriff isn't that interested in it. The city has some interest in it, but again, it comes down to, once that funding mechanism runs out, how would that be paid for? That's what the sheriff's like, I don't wanna hire 10 people to dispatch 24/7 and then be stuck with the bill once, if they're even decide to opt out, or we're not paying you, or whatever agency said we're not paying, and then you're still stuck with the same amount. Obviously, county tax would be the easiest way to solve a funding mechanism, but again, there's no county government at this point. So I don't really have anything more than that. Aaron, am I correct or off? Maybe you want to add to that?
The county tax seems like it's the most viable way just to tell everyone you're paying for it, from what it sounds like, but it would be quite the reach at this point for them to get it pushed ahead, because like Bill's saying, doesn't sound like the side judges were very interested last time they were approached about it, and who knows if that will change or not.
So the problem is after the 11 million runs out and the centers start, who funds it? So I think there's a lot of work. Chittenden County is farther along than any other agencies. Rutland County has had 2 meetings, and it's just agency heads, fire chiefs, EMS, police, talking on how would the structure look. But it really would come back to the boards, and I think it's just try to get an outline together and then move where we're going to go. And if the legislature just says we're not going to do that, then that we're back to square one with the state being on the hook for services. The state keeps saying that some agencies pay and some agencies don't, and we've been pushing back saying every town pays to state taxes, because the way it's set up is there's no county government. And they've created the monster, and what it feels like now they want everybody else to fix it. So I don't know what's going to happen. I have no more details than that. I will keep you posted. We have another meeting, I think, on the 15th.
So we don't know the exposure, money-wise?
We don't.
Not at all.
I mean, they've thrown crazy numbers on
Yeah.
it and other numbers, and again, I think they're just throwing it at the wall and saying,
Yeah.
this is what we think. And Heinsberg had one experience, was they were paying an agency, but they were charging them per call. And then their agency, they had some guys that got busy with traffic. Well, they were counting traffic stops as case numbers. Well, then that blew it. They were like, thank God. So now they're saying, well, you can't count traffic stops. I said, the problem with the pay per call, it really forces you into being reactive, where you sit around worried about not getting billed. I mean, that's kind of, it doesn't seem to fly. I don't know how that would work. Again, it's a work in progress. That's the best update I can give you. I gave you, I did send Joe the last thing the VLCT set up. They're supportive of regional dispatching, but they're not supportive of the cost part. And they want to have this laid out.
Okay.
Have you talked to Bill and Bob?
Not yet.
It's kind of a
the Rutland County delegation is 100% supportive of not doing this. I mean, they always have been, but it seems like Rutland County's outdone by everybody else, so that's kind of what the issue comes down to. I mean, ultimately, it'd be nice if the state went back and opened those 2 centers back up. And what the problem the state is having is they're down to about 50% staffing, and if they have one COVID incident, they could wipe out one dispatch center. So that seems to be they're using COVID as an accelerated reason to get rid of all the municipalities. But from directly out of Commissioner's mouth was, they're gonna get rid of all police fire that aren't state, but they're not reducing their staffing. They're not gonna take that, they're gonna keep their same budget numbers. So that really comes down to legislation and the governor. So let's just say, if you're not doing all this extra work, that money needs to be reappropriated somewhere else. So this is a battle that's gonna happen at the state house. But I'm trying to keep you guys abreast. I don't know what it's gonna take, but
Thanks, Bill.
I think that's all I have. If anybody's got any questions?
Nothing today. Do you guys?
I'm gonna.
Aaron?
18 measurable events so far to date, 43 inches total in snow, 565 tons of salt, sitting on average for salt usage. Let's say the 18 events, measurable events, so it's not those little ice incidents and stuff like that. That's not really measurable for us, but that eats the salt. The snow like we had over the weekend, we don't use nearly as much snow or salt as we do when we're chasing ice off the road 24/7. Equipment's over the weekend held up fairly well. The only truck that went down yesterday morning as they were finishing hauling was one of the little dump trucks. That's in the shop right now, trying to get figured out. Every light and bell and whistle was going off on the dash, screaming that every electronic component needed service of some sort, so. Okay. We checked the battery to make sure it had proper juice, because the computers really don't like to work if they don't have proper juice. That looked fine, and when we called the dealer, where we have the warranty through it, they're like, yeah, that sounds like a high-tech guy, so yeah. So that truck's out for now. Otherwise, mostly, like I said, most of the equipment held up fairly well. A couple incidents with the bigger trucks on some of the dirt roads, they were soft because we got a little bit of rain before we got that snow, so popped some chains on the front plows. So they just have to put a new chain on, new cable on, so that plow will act properly. Didn't take any downtime out of any of the machines that way. The guys were in Monday night, so Sunday into Monday, then last night again hauling all this area down here. Tomorrow they're back normal shift, and we'll catch some of the stuff we can do in the daytime and start giving that equipment some much needed attention from over the weekend. So otherwise on the highway end, some pothole work. The week before we had the ice rink set up. Unfortunately the liner failed us big time. There's a new liner out here, and of course now that we have the new liner, we're going to be about freezing hopefully the rest of winter. Not because I don't want to do an ice rink, but
looks like maybe this weekend.
Maybe.
Cold weather coming. Sunday, Monday.
Next weekend, next week, or beginning of next week, minus.
You need a good week or more.
I know.
Rink. Build your ice up.
We have it on the schedule tentatively to get it put back up, so, because we need to try and have it hopefully ready for the 19th.
I mean, he's probably right.
Water department, unless Mike wants to speak, few more meters over the last few weeks. Self tank, mission system's back online, so we can see that remotely now. The guys did have to go up there a couple days last week and get manual checks on the tank because I dare say the radar ended up freezing in that super cold weather and had some ice accumulation on the bottom, and it was giving us a full reading when we knew in fact that it does go up and down every day. So we're still using a bit more water every day.
Yep.
Sewer plant now has their SCADA back online. They lost part of it as part of the upgrade. It's all been up and running now. Now we can say, in fact, I'm very confident that the stuff that we're using extra from the plant up there is making it down there, so people are using it. In the last report, we were concerned that we were going to have to start worrying about service lines having issues. I'm assuming that most of our customers have taken it upon themselves, or have taken it upon themselves to prevent that, so we'll see how that works out. Sewer plant. So the upgrade's going along. Today, we actually had our first in-service training, not in-service, but pre-service training on the clarifier number 2. All the gear is finally installed in that. All the electronics are operational. We actually got to go through some training on the new, same as the old, but new system. All of the components that are getting redone, we have training that's required as part of the contract. We were able to do some of that today. We have another piece tomorrow that's in the Headworks building. So there is stuff moving forward. Some of the stuff that's still scheduled far out, some of the last bits of equipment are still showing like March dates for delivery, which is kind of a bummer. They've been on order for a long time, but stuff that has been holding this up the longest, a lot of it's supposed to be shipping this week. There hasn't been any change on that, so hopefully it will be getting shipped. So down there, we're happy it's finally moving along. I know I've promised Joe for a week now to get you guys updated on the pump stations. Academy Street does have its new control panel in. We have to do some underground wiring work that we were hoping to get to before the deep freeze set. We didn't get to it. So now we're going to have to wait a little while to get the deep freeze out to finish that wire work. Adam Street, we're still waiting for a shipment of the generator to be able to put that control panel in. Emailed the guy again today, said, I know you said there was a change in the status of delivery. We got an update as to what the status change was. The status just changed on their dashboard or whatever their window was online, but it didn't say whether it shipped. Something changed on it. So I emailed him today and told him we need information on that, or I'm going to be working to get one of our portable generators wired in direct. That'll at least run half of that plant or half of that pump station as we can currently with the motor generator that's there. We'll get that new control panel in there before we start seeing our high flow when we get this winter melt and stuff going, so that control panel will be operational so we don't have issues. Other than that, it's been quiet.
Nice. Check your load machine, because the other night there was a call, a job floated on the sidewalk.
Thank you.
I just had a mental note that I was gonna say, but I just want to thank the highway department for the last storm. As far as, everybody probably has their own opinion, but as far as from patrol, we had no problem getting where we were going. I thank Aaron over the air. I think they did a really good job for us, being able to get where we need to go without any problems, so. I just wanted to thank them for that. Take that back to you guys.
You know, when, we had to go out on Friday when we had to take them to the dog to the Castleton and the roads in their head. I mean, to be fair, they're not sometimes.
You could tell down my mom's house where the town stopped and the state started. Not the state, but you could definitely tell the difference. That was,
It's like going to the border.
Yeah.
Coming down Route 4, in Vermont, so you hit New York.
Didn't think it's all.
Yeah, exactly. Go to White House.
Thank you.
Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, the reason I came in is to add to what Aaron said. We've had 8 meters frozen in the last month, and a water line. So, you know, people are gonna see the bill for all that, but, you know, it's quite a few meters. I mean, it's the most I've seen in one winter since I've been here.
It's been cold and the frost is deep.
Yep. We had no snow until this past weekend.
Lock that frost right in the ground.
We're seeing sewer lines freezing that we've never. Town manager, if you guys are all done,
Any questions?
reserve the right to come back.
Thank you.
Okay. Aaron had talked about getting the ice rink up for the 19th. That's because we're still having the Winterfest in the park. We were hoping to have the ice rink. We're going to do the Fairhaven Iditarod, if you know what the Iditarod is. Yeah. So my vision for this is I'll have a sled, and then have a significant other sitting in the sled, and then the other one will pull the other significant other down the park and back.
And it's a race.
It's a race, so it'll be great. I'm sure there will be a fabulous prize. So I've signed you guys up already.
I just saw the baby.
Rescue.
gonna be
Yeah,
great.
Make sure to hire rescue so they're here, not on a.
So we had, last semester I tried to get a UVM intern to help us out in town just with some of the, day-to-day work. They ran out of interns. I got an intern this year. So, that young man starts on the 10th, Thursday, which is the 10th. Mr. Richards talked a little bit earlier about the, broadband. I did reach out to USDA, and we were supposed to have a call today, but, she got busy. I'm gonna talk to USDA tomorrow. There is grant funding for, expansion of broadband in this area. So, there's grants and, there's loans and grants and then a combination of the two, so. We'll see what that looks like. More information to come.
Joe, is that something you could talk to the school? Because I think COVID has proven,
Yeah.
when they go home, we've had
Yeah.
kids get sent home on remote learning, and then we have to go check on them. The school results are like, they're not turning homework in, or they're not. They're like, we're on broadband, sorry, can't help tell you, so I'm just,
True.
food for thought was.
Yeah, it'd be nice to partner with them, because they would be a big consumer, I'm sure.
Hey, Joe, I just thought of something else. Leahy's chief of staff ran the broadband implementation when she worked for, the senator's not there from, Alaska.
Mhm.
So she's got a lot of insight and she's probably going to be looking for work here pretty soon. So, well, she'll get another job.
My guess
on
is
the
she's
Hill,
got a plan.
but she may be,
There's
may be
Fairhaven.
able to tap at, her knowledge.
Sure, I'll reach out.
I'll give you a number to.
Yes. Also, we talked about the CUD, we talked about a representative for the CUD, Bob stole my thunder. I meet with the legislature tomorrow, and this is a question for the board, but, the statement is, I meet with the legislature tomorrow to talk about, how the Regional Planning Commission, has helped, both me and the town of Fairhaven, with grant funding and management and just general day-to-day questions. I was gonna say, the commission helps me. Would the board be interested in me saying that, does the board support the planning commission, and should I say that to the legislature?
From my end, sure.
I don't wanna put
David
words-
Neary came over and was instrumental in our sidewalk, grant, and we have someone from Rutland Regional Planning managing that grant for us and everything, so absolutely, and we're looking forward for more help from them on our Adams Street Bridge.
Yep.
We wanna make sure.
Wonderful, thank you. I didn't wanna put words in anybody's mouth.
I think that's perfect. I like the looking forward to more help. I think that's a good statement to be in
Well, I
there.
There's a
think
lot of potential over there to use
Yeah.
that nobody does use.
No, and you get what you give with the planning commission, so if you're active with them, they can help a lot. And then on the 14th, Sarah Pelkey from, Rutland Regional and Poultney, her and I will be presenting to the USDA undersecretaries, about pushing out money to small towns in terms of grants. What I've seen, the Fed tends to push money, to larger, wealthier towns. And it's kind of built right into their questions and how they score. So, we're gonna make sure everybody
Bring
hears
that
that.
up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be popular.
And Sarah Pelkey is their economic development coordinator for Poultney, or?
In
what is-
Poultney, yes.
In
She's a
Poultney,
part-time
it really, when having an economic development coordinator that focuses, gets things done.
And that was the state, so it's not like Sarah and I just went knocking on doors. The state asked us to do a presentation to USDA. So it's nice to be asked and it's nice to be heard. Salt shed project, we'll talk a little bit later, but Aaron dug up some numbers and I've also, poked around looking for ways forward with that. Town hall renovation, that begins this month, I think he said on the 21st. The guys were in today, kind of planning out where they'll start. They're gonna start with some excavation in the basement, where the elevator's gonna sit. So they'll start this month, and then it'll really be digging in March. End date is still projected to be July. And I'm not done, I'm just pausing. Playground equipment, I did reach back out because of how things are, and we're still scheduled for March. And then ARPA, that's put on our list of projects, that review starts on the 22nd. Let me see. Deborah stole my thunder about CNC. They got their permit to put their container over there on Prospect Street.
Fireworks.
The fireworks store, yeah. I actually saw him, we talked, and he'll be back in April to get that permit. Okay, and now I'm done.
I had a question for you, but it's gone. How many water meters are left to change?
Approximately, well, on the books, there's like 43, but a lot of them are like for
Unused?
Willard that doesn't exist anymore. So I'm guessing 37, I think, when we had to go around and do the manual reads this past billing cycle. I think there's 37.
And are these just non-responsive at this point?
It's
I mean, I
almost
do know
time
the
to,
pandemic, like everything else, kind of
But
took
most,
the sails out of it, or the wind out of the sails, but they all knew back then they had to be replaced. There's no reason to, at least not go after most of them. We don't wanna go under trailers and start tearing apart and taking all that. But I'm guessing about 80% are houses with a basement.
seems like, if we've got 800 done and you've got about 30 left, maybe we should talk about, doing a fine at this point, just to get them done. Because everyone else is following the rules, I think.
No, I agree, and Joe and I have discussed a
Maybe
couple
that's-
different ways of,
Maybe it's not implemented until spring, I mean, because some of them can't be done, or maybe
Right.
those don't get penalized because they can't be done.
Mhm.
Anyway, just keep it on your radar. Where are we? Old business. Class 4, policy review on class 4 roads. Thanks, guys.
thank you.
So we pretty well, went through this one at the last meeting. Were there any significant?
No, it looks like the changes we asked for, the definition of Pent Road went in, and you added the trail piece. It looked pretty good when I looked it over, that was what we were looking for.
Joe, you got anything else?
No, I just made the changes that the board requested, and it's ready to go when the board's ready to sign it.
And so with that, are you looking for a motion? I'll make a motion that we accept the class 4 road policy as written.
I have a motion by Glenn, second by Rod, to accept the approve the class 4 highway policy. Any discussion? Bob's got nothing.
I like class 4.
I think we pretty well hashed it over last meeting, so.
Right, so we're just going to.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I always feel a little awkward when there's no discussion. Okay, policy review capital improvement policy. This one might require a little more.
Yes, so at the last meeting, there was good discussion. There was a request to put in some type of rubric to score the projects or score the purchases. And I did go through and made just a little bit of change, just to kind of tighten it up. I recommended an 8-year plan instead of a 5-year plan to make that, each purchase less onerous each year. And then I added a time frame. I said update the plan annually every April. So that way, when the new board comes in, they'll review it, then they'll be able to set up a budget. And then, because the way it is, it's just kind of, the board that comes in April will be able to set the budget for the following year, so they'll be able to plan for what they want. And I guess that was it. I guess I'm looking for input. If there is any.
I had some on the scoring sheet, the rubric you put together. And it was just, it was the scoring sheet that, you know, it said 2022 capital purchase assessment form. There seemed to be a lot of reference to the word project name, project this, project that, and I'm saying if it's a capital plan that's for purchases, I'd recommend changing project to purchase. And they're on the third grouping, down where it says projects consistent with adopted city council, just replace city council with select board.
Sure.
And, so I'm not changing the meaning of anything here. It looks, as a first pass at coming up when we said, hey, we got an idea, put a rubric together. I think you did a good job for a first pass on whether the weighted factors, I'd want to hear more from the rest of the board.
And I can't take all the credit for that. I did steal that template from a Michigan town.
It looked, yeah. Jump in one more time.
Yeah.
Well, it just, because I'm looking at a sheet, we got people sitting here that aren't looking at the sheet saying, what the heck are they looking at here?
Yeah.
We weighted things like the highest weight being 5 and the lowest being 2 on different areas like health and safety and welfare. We said that takes the highest rating, that's 5, so we're gonna weight when we rank these. And that seemed about right. The next highest rated one was need to comply with local, state, or federal law. We gave a 5 rating. I thought that was good. The next one was conforms to adopted program, policy, and plan. We gave it a rating of 4. I guess they all can't be 5, so
Right.
I have a hard time arguing with the 4. And then the next one is remediates an existing or projected deficiency, and we gave it a 3. We'll upgrade facilities. We gave it a 3 on a capital improvement thing.
Should be 5.
Should be.
Well, it should be, yeah.
That seemed. That's when I'm looking at that right there, saying.
Have
what
you guys seen this?
No, that's why I wanted to say, hey, so we could get input from.
So we don't have a full board tonight. I don't think we're gonna.
We're not
finish
going to
this
approve
one.
this, but it's.
So I think Joe can kick it out to you guys, and you can bring department heads can bring back some feedback on the next meeting, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yep.
No.
Oh, you the boss.
Tonight.
But I guess it depends on who we want to do the scoring. My experience has been if we let no offense, guys.
No.
If we let staff decide what's our priority, it's gonna come to the board and there's not gonna be a lot of buy-in to make these purchases.
No.
So
I think
if the board makes the decision,
I think the board is going to do the ranking when we get there, but I think it's worth it for the rubric to be.
I'd like to hear input
Yeah.
because of, if upgrading facilities should carry as much as health and safety, because usually probably the upgraded facilities has a lot to do with health. There's some might be.
Yeah.
I wanna.
I think it's worth.
I think that's a question mark on that one right there. And I was just gonna quickly go down through so we could be thinking about them, and then that one, it sounded like with 2 or 3 quick comments, I'm going, okay, now there's one we probably wanna talk about a little more. Contributes to the long-term needs of the community, we gave it a 2. And this is the first, this is the first pass, and if we're saying, I'll put a question mark over there, a little while. And then funding source, and that was looking under funding source, 100% grant funded with a town match, 100% reserve fund, or financing are the sub areas there. And that was given a funding source when you make the decision whether you're gonna get it, when you weigh out whether you're gonna make the purchase or not, we're saying it's a lower 2 is what this is saying. Department priority, and it was just high, medium, and low, we gave that a 2. And we'll deliver, on the level of service we're looking for, and it was a high, medium, low, we gave that a 2. So that was the first pass at never having anything to score, we're doing a capital improvement plan, saying, and I think it was, by the way, Joe, a good place, it's so much easier to edit and create, so having something that you can look at and talk about is a good thing. I think I agree with you. I'm pretty sure I agree with you. This is important enough, I feel more comfortable with the full board and getting time to get some more input on, before I would approve a capital plan. And I like your going from a 5-year to an 8-year plan. And saying, it's 5-year vision, 8-year, 10-year planning, we can improve in those areas, sure. I'm done.
No, I'm good. I mean, it's a good start, it's just
Yeah.
need input.
Okay, so we're done on that one for now, unless there's anything. The reserve fund policy. So that one we went through last time, and this is pretty much just a cleanup.
Yep, so all the edits that the board had requested were made. We added the other funds that weren't in there last time, like the water sinking, sewer sinking, general fund balance, that kind of thing.
And we changed it from a reserve policy to just a funds policy.
Yep.
But the only question I had, I thought we had some discussion last time about this water sinking fund and sewer sinking fund, and trying to get an explanation of what is it, when did you use it, and we were going, and if you, what is it? Is it just something that's required from Montpelier and you gotta, and I saw what we had down there. If those questions haven't been answered yet, having the min at 150,000, the max at 250,000, I'm not sure those.
I think it was supposed to be more like where the, oh, no, never mind.
Those kinds of questions just, change your agreed upon maximum funding.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't, well, I guess it could affect your minimum funding too. But, and I didn't bring up this last time because I didn't see it, I didn't think of it. There really is no such thing as maximum funding. It's a target. What your current target is. It's a semantics issue, but,
Well, except there. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, cause it's.
we've asked those questions every year. I think it comes up.
And it just looked like a lot of money if we didn't know what it was.
Yeah, no.
And didn't have a good explanation of where we're gonna use it. I wasn't real comfortable saying, why do I have a water and sinking fund and I just don't have a water and sewer fund, and unless you're telling me what specifically is that sinking fund, because once you put reserve money aside, don't you have to
Use it
spend it? You have to spend it for there, so I'm going,
Don't put it in there.
I wouldn't have those numbers of dollars in there if I didn't have a good explanation of how, because I'm committing.
I thought we were gonna drop those down to, like 50,000, like what was in there
A lot
today.
smaller number.
You want them down to 50?
I think they were gonna be like 25 to 50, weren't they?
I'm still not comfortable with what they're for.
Okay. Bob, can you shed a little light on?
It's an accounting term.
Yeah.
And because the water and sewer fund, you have both sinking funds and reserve accounts.
Yeah. One is to retire debt, correct?
The sinking fund is retired
I think
debt.
so. But some accountants gotta give us a definition so you know what you're talking about. Because I know we've gone around and round and round with them.
Yeah.
We have gotten explanations, and, we just don't hear it very often, so.
No, and
Yeah.
Don't use it.
You don't use it very often.
I always forget what they're for.
But there's, accounting 101 someplace, there must be a definition of what that is, and that would give you the the parameters of where you wanna go with that, but that,
So the,
He's talking about that.
do you have
You have an explanation?
comment?
We-
You had a
yeah,
hand up, right?
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, I did. So that was one of the first things when I came on board, we talked about this too. And we actually put sinking fund into the definitions for our water and sewer.
I thought we did that at one time.
We did.
is it there?
Yeah, I think when I was,
Yeah.
that's like we first did it, it's to retire debt.
Okay.
The sinking is for
I
your
can
debt.
just never remember which one's which.
Yeah,
This is one of those things that
Without
just pops
looking it
up, yeah.
so a reserve account could be more for capital improvement. That makes sense.
We tend to pay the debt service out of the budget rather than using the
Well-
sinking fund.
Right, I look at these mins and I just say $300,000, and when, we got a bond and we're paying, and we've got debt going in two different directions, and that's a lot of money to have sitting there and not retire, if it is retiring debt, then why aren't we applying it to retiring debt?
Can I make a comment on that to you? For example, 3 years ago, we spent $170-some-odd thousand out of our capital fund. As I've been telling Joe, and I'm assuming he's related to the board, it's a guaranteed 20-year life of these meters. 20 years from now, you don't wanna be saying, you know, and it's not like 20 years in one day, they're all gonna fail on the same day.
Could be close.
But you also have to have the money starting now, you know, $10,000-15,000 put away, so yes, you are gonna have a big amount and growing in that account. But 20 years from now, when the quote is gonna be 260,000 over 170,000, you want that money there instead of saying, oh my God, we gotta replace 900 meters and we have no money.
Agreed.
So that 150 sounds right to you as a min?
Well, we're 250 to $1 million in the water capital improvement fund.
Right,
Where that should be.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's where, see, it looked
So I was
like
gonna-
double dipping, or it just,
I was just gonna back down the sinking funds a little bit, but maybe we should just leave that there for the next board to talk about.
Yeah.
It's really just a guideline,
Right.
so that from board to board, we know what the idea was, to provide some continuity. That's,
Just
Because
a little
every year-
forethought into what
every year
we
at budget
down the
time,
road.
we talk about, well, what are we gonna fund these reserve accounts at?
I would feel more comfortable if both those 150s were 50,000. Because we already have, for the water improvement fund has 250,000 in it.
Yeah.
As a separate line item. So we'd be taking $100,000 of,
I don't think there's anything that you can't use the capital improvement fund
Right.
for that you would use
The
sinking fund for.
Yeah.
That, I've said it wrong, but you all know what I mean, right?
yeah,
But I mean,
I know
that
what you
sounds
mean.
like a lot of money, but as Aaron and Joe know, at the water plant, we're looking at upgrading some of our electronics and stuff. That one project, to fund it completely, would take all that money and then probably some.
Nobody's saying that it's not, that money
No,
shouldn't
that's
be
not anything,
saved,
just
it's where to put it.
What bucket do you put it in?
So should I reduce the sinking funds to 50,000 and?
Yeah, I can,
That's,
any,
until I get a better explanation.
to retire
before-
debt,
beforehand.
you're the tiebreaker, so,
But if it's to retire debt, but we never use it, we've never used it since
I've
I.
never used it.
I mean, unless they tell me I have
And
to
we've
have a
got plenty of
sinking
debt.
fund and a water sinking fund and a sewer sinking fund by some
Yes.
state statute, I would say, take it right off the books, and whatever, you've got a water and a sewer capital improvement fund here,
That's-
put
that's
whatever
where it's-
money,
yeah.
and use the money that you have. That's the money you should have, instead of having it in two different places and
Yeah,
wondering whether you spend it.
I would talk to
We could reach out to all,
either our accountant or,
Yeah.
our
Wayne.
auditor.
or Wayne Elliott,
There might be some
Wayne
kind of
Elliott, yeah.
rule that you have to have a sinking fund and,
I think there is a rule that you have
and
to
and
have
a
one.
water and sewer sinking fund.
It seems like there must be because it's just something that's always been there.
Yeah. We've had money in it, we just don't use it.
We've never used it.
I know what you're saying, but it's always been there, so it seems like it has to be, but I don't know that.
We just talked about this sort of, stuck in our ways kind of thinking earlier in this meeting, so, yeah. So what's the, you wanna leave it there, you wanna drop the minimum down? Really dropping the minimum doesn't do that much, you can still put in more.
Yeah,
I can talk to Wayne and see
Yeah.
if the board's interested. I mean, maybe you can pay off
What
some
are
debt with the little
requirements?
bit that's there, yeah.
What are the requirements? I mean, it might be that we get better consideration if we have sinking fund money there.
Right, if you
Yeah,
go
for
for a grant and someone's, the first thing they check
USDA
is
funding
you
or
they have
something.
you have a sinking fund that's here, and you get extra points for having more money in there, absolutely.
I'd just like to point out that just because we put that number there, doesn't mean that $1 million is gonna magically appear in these accounts tomorrow.
I don't know.
Right.
It's gonna be
So-
tough to make these
a
minimum
target.
amounts.
Yeah, it's
I'll-
just,
It would be a wonderful problem to have, to say, man, we've reached the max on all of these, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
So the question,
yes,
so it comes back to my fire service stuff.
okay,
Policy and guideline. If this is implemented as a policy, we'll use Public Works Vehicle Equipment Fund for the minimum funding, maximum funding on the policy end of it. So if we have a piece of equipment that by some chance, we have 250,000 in there and would reduce, if we make that purchase, the $99,000 in that account left over, does that automatically throw that out the window? Because now we've just said that we're gonna reduce that fund balance below what the policy says it needs to be maintained at.
no,
Well,
Those are targets, is that?
they're targets. It's,
Because in my world of fire service stuff is, a policy is written, if you do not follow that policy, that's legal grounds for you to get in trouble. Guideline, this is what the plan is. You
no,
need to try and achieve this type deal. Just,
this is, I think this more as a board directive than a,
yeah, this all came about years ago
right,
when I said, wait a minute, why do we keep throwing money in these funds if we're not even sure what we're gonna use it for, and we've got all this money in these funds? Let's make sure we put it in the right place, because as Glenn pointed out, you know, if you have it in a fund, you may not be able to use it most efficiently if it's in the wrong fund. So that's what the genesis of this discussion is. And it's just a target. I mean, I'm not even sure minimum funding is, you know, as
It almost
Aaron
could-
just pointed out, if,
it almost could just be one column of
Right.
target funding.
right, this should be
Or it
a
just
report that we get that says where we're at right now and what's the target.
It's a lot like our discussion when we were doing the budget of the general fund carryover, and what was the
Yes.
target that we like to keep at?
Right.
And we said, well, the target is right around $100,000, and now that doesn't mean we can't go a little bit below it, and that doesn't mean we aren't gonna be a little above it.
And that's
But
in here.
And that's in here, but that's what I see us using as.
It's
So
a
to
solid
your
point.
point, I think, Aaron, what you're saying is, instead of, would it be, funds guidelines versus, versus calling it a policy?
Well, we're not a fire department, so.
No, but I'm going,
Not yet.
I don't, I
We
look
put
at
out
different
fires, but-
policies, because we called our different running,
policy holds a legal term.
It
for
does.
the guidelines.
It does.
Guidelines is do a broad scope, you need to achieve this inside of here. Policy says you will do it this way.
Good question. So we're.
We could add it into the purpose too, to just,
Right, just talk about that these are just guidelines, that
right,
they're not, under the purpose statement, yeah.
I can put something for like targets or
Right.
target.
That, I'd
Balances.
like that under the purpose,
Any
number
thoughts?
good.
I mean, that's fine. I mean,
yeah, it's all in the idea is some continuity.
yeah.
I can make, and where did we land on the sinking funds?
50 to 250, I think, is where we land.
Right.
You got any?
We brought that 50 down.
It's kind of hard to answer that because We don't know how
And you're gonna
important it
get us
is.
some information.
Right.
There's gonna be some more information. If it has to stay there, I'm feeling that we're leaning towards 50K in each of those instead of 100.
Well, what's in them today? 20 to 50?
We don't don't have much money in either one of them.
Yeah, there's not a lot there.
Last time I checked.
And we really
We
have never
didn't need
really
that.
put that much in.
No.
Although, the timber sales go into the sinking fund, it does,
It's an interesting
oh, okay.
mechanism.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I think it does.
Cost today.
Probably $500,000 at least, right?
Baseline, yeah.
Water
Got one
sinking,
that's gonna be replaced pretty quick.
water sinking's 19,300, sewer sinking is 20,300.
Like I said, just because I say that the maximum fund balance should be $17 million doesn't mean that it will appear tomorrow. And the next board can edit these in any way that they would like.
Yep.
That's not continuity.
It's not, but that's what we have.
That's,
No, that's
Well-
politics.
Yeah.
well, what it's also, when we're putting something
That's
together
right.
for the first time, once we use it, there's gonna probably be a need to tweak it a little bit.
Sure.
We're not that good.
No,
We like to be, but we probably have to tweak it, and that's okay.
there's really no way to tell the next board what to do.
Right.
It's just saying, here's
This
what
is
we
what
were
we're
thinking.
Right.
So that they don't go in completely blind with new people.
Yeah.
That's all.
Mhm. Good.
It's not always Bob coming in. Who
Bob
still
says-
might be
Bob
blind,
says, what are you doing?
right?
I've got a chance to.
You do.
Okay, so I'll make some edits.
I'm
and
just
bring it-
picking on you, Bob.
Thank you. Okay.
Always gotta pick on Bob, right?
I do seem to do that a lot.
You'll see that.
Oh, the emergency fund says no max.
Yes.
I think every one of these funds should have a target max.
Okay, what do you got for a number?
That one in particular, because that one accrues cash.
What's that?
That one does accrue. It's not like it just sits there. That one, you'll see it tick up slowly because of interest.
Okay, but, you know,
We have a,
500,000? I mean, after 500,000, we shouldn't put any more into it. And I'm using 500 as a number. Okay, I mean, it might be million if everyone wants that, but after 500,000, we shouldn't put more into it.
I think that's the idea.
It might accrue cash, and if it grows to $1 million with accruals, because the interest rate really does great one year, that's great, but we shouldn't put more tax dollars in there.
Should I put 500?
I threw that out.
It's not a bad number.
But to say no max, you know, I think that's,
put
500?
Put 500 in there.
All right.
What was the auditor always wanted, what's the?
he wanted a big number.
3 months operating.
Well, he wanted in the, not in the reserve funds, but he wanted it in the, fund balance, yes.
So
Okay.
those,
And our complaint was, well, wait a minute, why should we have an artificially high fund balance? We've got it in emergency reserves. So that was the discussion.
and so we're between 100 and 500 in the highway and the general fund balances as well.
Pretty close to
right.
highway's like 99,000.
Yeah.
No, but that's the guideline, 100 to 500.
Yes.
To Aaron's point, should the public works and the fire be bumped just a little bit? To accurately represent? I mean, that's what we're trying to do with all the other ones.
Right. Are you
What's that now?
Are you talking
Is-
bumping the max, or?
Yeah, bump it max.
Don't have a problem.
I don't know that we can fund them to those levels, but I'm,
Right,
Well, but the purpose of this is to say we shouldn't fund any more if we reach that limit.
right.
Now,
And
with-
if 300,000,
in reality-
you won't get the vehicle.
Fire vehicle, if we had $500,000 and it cost $750, we're gonna get a loan for the difference.
okay.
So that's where I had my question was, so the usage of that money for the public works is essentially, there's 200,000 of usable money there. So if we're gonna go over that, we're going to finance it anyway.
Well, no,
So
we
like
can bring it down to
fire-
zero.
If it's 100 to 500, essentially, effectively, you should only be using 400 of that cash if you're gonna be having 750. That's just the way I look at it.
I don't think
No,
that's the
no,
intent.
that's the
though.
intent, is
Our
we can
intent
bring
was-
this fund down to zero.
Yep, if
Okay,
we
it's
had
just-
300,000 and you needed it, we could,
But if there was a fund line item that
Somehow
had
that's
zero,
gotta be explained in
and
here.
we have a target of 500, well, that takes a higher priority to refund. But if we're at 350 and our target is 500, well, we're gonna fund the lower ones first. Okay, it's just a high-low, a prioritization.
Should there be some sort of narrative, a little more narrative in here, Joe, that you're gonna work on?
Yeah, I'll work on some narrative and drop it in.
All right.
Good.
Let's move on to letter to Agency Secretary Joe Flynn at AOT.
So we made the changes as recommended. I think it was in the second paragraph. Carol wanted that beefed up a little bit. We changed that, and there were,
a typo or something.
yeah, there was a typo on the second page, and we took care of that as well.
Yep. I'll make the motion to, do you want a motion to accept? To accept the letter to Secretary Joe Flynn, Transportation, to get support for the Adams Street Bridge replacement.
Is there a second? Got a motion from Glenn, second from Glenn and Rod. Got the names right.
Nice job.
Any other discussion? There's only two of them. You'd think I could get it right every time, but I can't. No discussion?
No.
It's the same letter we had last time.
Yep,
those are
same one we
changes.
discussed last time.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried.
So I'm gonna send several copies down.
Mhm.
If you could sign them.
Okay. And I think if Chris and Carol want to sign this
They
before you
come in.
send it, I don't see any problem with that.
And this is the letter that we're copying Bill Canfield, Bob Helm, Ed Bove, and David Neary, because Ed Bove, I think is gonna be done in
Are there more than
June,
one copy in
Bob?
that packet?
Yeah.
They just sent-
No, this was mine.
Okay, it just felt thicker than this one.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna send that one backwards.
Oh, this one?
Yep. I blame Joe.
Did I send too many?
No,
You just stuck two together.
two are stuck together and we're
The
good.
second time that's happened to me today with my packet.
There's three.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob, have a good night.
Yeah.
You need the conditional.
Any more? Is that it?
That was it.
Okay,
Everybody.
salt shed discussion.
Yes, back to the salt shed.
How much is that?
I need to thank Aaron for helping facilitate the project and taking more of a management role on it. I was swamped last week and he picked up and just ran with it, so I really appreciate the help. That said, we did get a number back for doing the wall work, the dirt work and then putting in the walls.
But don't throw that out yet, right?
It's a budget number.
It's a budget number, but
Okay.
thank you for reminding me not to say that. But it was still significantly high.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So the contractor, we had discussion with Bruce and Thomason for, us to overlook, and some of them are legit. The asphalt work itself is budget pricing. I have not been able to confirm what, if we talked to the asphalt person ourselves, would look like, but the number that he projected looks like it's well in excess of what we would pay if we were to do it, have it contracted ourselves versus them doing it, because we can get a better rate, especially, like the contractor, or like the contractor said, we tie it all in with our summer paving type of stuff, because we get a much better price if we're just gonna jack the tonnage up, whether it be on the roads or on the roads and the salt shed at the same time. So there's some good savings there. The other both contractors I talked to are not interested in using the recycled asphalt that's up there. They both say they think if the product isn't what we're gonna want, and it's gonna take more time and effort for them to utilize that than just getting regular stone of some sort, do the work. So there's electrical work up there. He said you take that all out and put it to your local guy, it's gonna be cheaper still for you guys, so there's stuff everywhere for savings. Like Joe said, the price still puts us above where we wanna be. And now we're talking about that not even being, not a shed of the size that was originally proposed with all of the grant funding that we had received. Now we're down to not quite half the size, it'll end up being about half the size is what the other one was. And we're still, budget numbers are well above where we're funded to at this point.
Did we look into local contractors at all?
We have one local looking, I haven't got a final number from them. As I talked with Joe earlier today, if we get a number from him and then have discussion on how to help that number, might be a better option for us, whether we supplement him with some of our equipment if we can, or some of our time. Another discussion was, is how about having highway do it? While the boys can do it, that's gonna be 3+ weeks of work for them just up there over the summer, fall, of them not doing the stuff that we already call them to do all day, every day. Getting the roads ready for paving, striping the lines, cutting back the grass, all that other, so it just will put more time in that I don't think we have all readily available. If we can supplement someone, a local guy, I think that's more feasible. But we have to do some refining on what the actual project's gonna look like to see what that number would actually come down to.
Even if it's the difference between doing the project and not doing the project? Just wondering.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think we have enough numbers to say one way or another if we're even still gonna be able to pull the project out, or if we're gonna have to do it all out. I know that I think the biggest discussion is whether we tell the state, sorry, but thank you. I know we have some time for that yet, but I don't, Joe, and now you probably, we talked about it a couple times. I don't think even waiting another 6 months to go to bid on it again, the prices will come down. They don't seem to be, they don't seem to be coming down nearly as, at all, if any, not nearly as the rate as what they went out.
How much money do we have available to fund this project?
So
Does it hurt to go, do you want that in the, I guess that's public, right?
It's public, I
Go
mean, we're
ahead.
talking about it. So one grant is 52,000. That's kind of an I'll call it unrestricted. We can use it as we wish to use it. The state was 152,000, and the state's requirements is really what's slowing the project down. They're looking for engineered buildings.
Brand new blocks.
Yeah, new blocks that are 300.
Not waste blocks.
Yeah, so their requirements are driving the cost up into the $600,000 range.
So if what you're talking about is tell the state, take the grant and go do something with it?
Does it hurt
Yeah,
to,
I'm
does
all
it
for
hurt though to run it out one more time? I know it wastes time, but does it hurt to run it out to bid one more time?
So the state was mightily upset that we didn't award last time. They will not let us run it out with their money again. They were very definitive about that. You're not doing that again.
Even though there was no way that was gonna be a potential.
Yes.
Again, the state's been nothing but send it, my mind say, give the state back the money and tell them, thank you, go away. We don't need their help on
Well,
this.
I don't think it was even plausible to award it the last time, so they're being
Right,
unreasonable.
they're so,
Yeah.
But you can't, I mean, we planned for that project to be in like the 300 range, right?
Yeah,
250, something
low,
like that.
yeah, low twos. But that was back, back in the good old days of 2019 when things weren't quite as expensive.
Yeah, but they have no remorse thinking about those project costs changing.
They did offer to let us apply for another grant. And they were giving out $120,000 in supplemental funding for projects like ours, because they saw what happened. but that
Still
didn't put us
wasn't even
anywhere near
close, yeah.
600, yeah.
And we'd be sitting on a big bill.
Well,
400,000, yeah.
but if you're near 4, I mean, right now you're talking about,
But we still have $200,000
Again, right,
to fund ourselves.
right now, if we're paying any more than $100,000 right here, I cancel the project and put it in a pile. So I don't know what we're doing. We've been beating ourselves to death on this one for way too long. And we should be able to get a salt shed a lot cheaper than
I don't know, I
the
think,
outrageous money I've been hearing.
I think we've learned though that we're not gonna get it below
Then-
150,000.
I-
Haven't we just learned that?
We're not gonna do it if we have the state involved in all the engineering that they're
No.
looking for, use brand-new blocks and have a, so we downsize it.
We did.
Town manager, so the budget numbers that are out there, the total project is still pushing 300.
Yeah, and there's no way I'd support that.
No,
going forward.
it's way more than, and for half the, it's
No,
more.
so what I'm saying is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 for half the project, or 2 from the town's pocket for the full project. The 2, if you're gonna do a project, that one's smarter money. The
You
original.
should be able to put it, everywhere I go and talk with people, you should be able to get a salt shed in for $75,000 to $100,000. And this is not a great Cadillac, you know, that you're gonna showpiece, but it's a salt shed. And anything we send over that would be, I don't know how we look our taxpayers in the eye and spend that kind of money.
I don't know.
But we're figuring it out.
Why don't you
Yeah.
get those preliminary numbers back on the,
And we talk
How
about it
long can
next
we
time.
go with one we have? I know it's failed.
till we get kicked out, I guess.
They haven't shut us down yet.
And then maybe we'll get some other money.
Did you go metal building or no?
No, just a tarp building, I
Just a
think.
tarp.
This tarp is all that's scheduled right now, or
700 now?
it was just shy of 600.
And even though they don't want us to use the millings, we put a pile of millings that's been sitting up there as an eyesore for the last 3 years. It's about time we did something with it, either.
We can find something.
If we, and if you're gonna pay for more stone, it's just, we seem to be putting good money at a bad situation, in my opinion.
Well,
But we'll come back with some figures.
That's where we're at.
I mean, that's, pretty
So
hard
the-
to talk
this-
when you're not looking at
the
anything.
state will not, I just wanna wrap my head around this, but the state will not let us rebid this project unless we guarantee we will take a bid,
Yes.
which is wrong, by
Which
the
is,
way.
which, again,
That's wrong. Foolish.
But let's hold off on telling them, cause why do we need to hurry?
right.
You know, there's not, and I talked to our other grant funder, and they're not in a big rush, and they're more than willing to work with us on whatever we wanna do.
So see if you
They're
can
much
get
easier
something
to-
done locally. There's a couple contractors around that I think would either work together or whatever.
I think the biggest thing, and Joe and I are in discussion, the biggest hangup for us right now is the money that's out for the permit, is where the big issue is. So we're permitted for that spot. We don't do anything in the 10-year timeframe, we essentially give up that permit.
I think you at least have to level those grindings out in that spot.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
I
have
would
to
still,
do
I'd
something.
take those
Whether you-
millings and lay
whether
them
you
down for
plan to
everything
dig
we
'em up-
paid for. We already paid for.
Whether you plan to dig them up again, but once you do that, you'll be able to do anything there. Because it will be an effective impervious surface and you'll be good.
So that's the only thing that's really ties us right now, is just that we don't lose that permit and have to pay for
But I would at
that
least
property again.
cover what you've permitted for in some way.
That's half of the cost that Joe and I discussed, is we are going to lay out the base as the permit allows us to, so we don't lose any space up there.
Good for you.
Because even if we build half the shed and only put half of it up there, we lose
You
that
can
other.
go beside it.
We're just gonna
Yep.
come up with a-
Cause you'll be able to just put the second half up later if you needed to. I think that's perfect. All right, anything else on salt shed? We've pretty well beat that one up.
We beat
Yeah,
that.
this has been the worst project I've ever
Oh,
done.
it's
It's been very difficult.
That's not true, but okay.
Sidewalk.
No, I can think of other ones.
I can too.
Munger Road, what's your pleasure?
I'm the one who wanted down the agenda, but with the fact that we have two board members missing, I want everyone here for the Munger Road discussion. So I would rather we table Munger Road and push that out
22nd,
to the 22nd.
if the 22nd agenda allows.
It should be okay. There's not a ton on there now. Just the things we've looked at today.
I didn't want to presume.
We make time for,
I just
you guys are the boss.
don't feel perfectly comfortable voting on that one.
Right, and
I
so we
have a
wouldn't be able
slight
to
conflict there,
get
so
a
I'm
decision.
staying back from that. So you don't really have enough people.
That's a Tuesday, right?
Yes. That's amazing.
2/22/22.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
Right, yeah.
Tuesday.
Good numbers to play for a lotto.
Lister computer purchase.
Yes. So, we did upgrade 2 of the Lister computers. The third Lister computer, they were trying to get it to, they wanted to keep it going, but she's been having trouble as it gets older. And the request is to spend, I've lost my total. Sorry guys, I lost my total on that one. To spend $1,520 out of the Lister's Equipment Reserve Fund to replace that one computer.
I saw the highlighted 10,000. I was like, I hope he's not requesting $10,000 for a
Enough, no.
computer.
Yeah, that's the real
Do
deal.
they have 3 like stations in there?
Yeah, they have 3 desks.
Are they? Is this a laptop or is this
This is a desktop.
No,
a
desks.
desktop?
And they're sure they want like a desktop like that. They don't want to be able to be mobile when they go on.
I sent them a few options that the IT guy sent me, and
They chose.
they chose one.
Looking for a motion? I'll make a motion to purchase the new computer for the Lister's office using funds from the Lister's Equipment Fund at a price not to exceed $1,520.
Second.
Motion by Glenn, second by Rod. Any other discussion?
Does that price include the IT guy to integrate it into our systems?
It does, yeah. They'll come down and do all the work to transfer information and hook it right up to the server.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Listers, no appeals or lawsuit certification.
Yep. So the listers are certifying that they have no appeals or suits pending against them or the town of Fairhaven for the year 2021 to today.
So it's just a motion to accept their certification?
Yep, and then a place to sign.
I'll make a motion to accept the certification from the Listers for 2021.
Motion,
Second.
second by Rod. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. SRO contract.
Yeah, it's been 3 years already, if you can believe it. This is the contract where between the town of Fairhaven and the Slate Valley Unified School District, where the town of Fairhaven will supply a school resource officer to the high school, and then a part-time officer to the grade school next door. And I believe the chief is here if he has, he knows more about the contract than I do.
Are there any changes from the first one?
Right, is this contract for the same period of time, or is it a?
Yeah, it's 3 years.
3 years?
The other one was last time. And the only difference is the dollar amount is escalated. The school agreed escalated because we don't know what contract negotiations are gonna look like. So we've been doing a normal, the last contract had a 3% escalator. So obviously you'll see the dollar amount has gone up, and that allows us to absorb, you know, if the board negotiates a high amount or a lower amount, it kind of will absorb that figure depending on where we would end up. As far as the school, Castleton's contract's being reduced to 20 hours a week, because all the middle school is moving to our school now. So there'll be some changes right there. But that's the contract. It hasn't changed at all, other than the dollar amount and the terms. And if you look at the amount not to exceed, that's where we put the caveat on, for the board negotiations negotiation with the union.
What if, is the SRO officer, well, I know the part-time is, but is the SRO in the, any union contract?
No, they're not in there, but
They're not.
that, we're negotiating with the SRO, so that, it covers, the sergeant does 2 hours at the school, and so there, we don't know where his pay is gonna be on the union side, and we have not finished the negotiations with the SRO for next year.
Right.
So the dollar amount will take into place negotiations with both ends.
So,
I mean, I'm a little bit leery on, I see big numbers in the news on union negotiations. I'd like to think that we're gonna be in a realistic environment, but
That's where you'll see there's a $15,000 increase from the current.
they're estimating.
that's, okay. I thought you said it was 3%.
So we signed the initial contract in 18 and allowed us to increase the contract yearly 3%.
Okay.
Not to exceed 3% for contract negotiations yearly.
Right.
So that contract has escalated up. So this one is a $15,000 increase from our current, which we would hope would absorb. I don't see there being that much of an increase in pay, but that's what the huge jump is in.
Okay.
And then there's 3% beyond that.
So then every year, it could go up 3%
Oh, okay.
in each. So, next year would be dollar amount, and then every year up 3% increase yearly
Mhm.
through 25.
Okay.
So you're looking for a motion to approve the SRO, I'll make a motion to approve the SRO contract for a total not to exceed a total of $75,000.
And the school has signed their half of it already.
Okay, so the school rep. Motion by Glenn, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Glenn, second by Rod. Discussion. Just humor me, what's the 15,000 percentage?
Increase? That I don't know. I don't see our end going up that much more.
That's just making sure in my head that it. I don't think so either, but stranger things have happened.
25%.
Yeah, that's, I don't see it.
Are you supplying more hours in that at all?
So this doesn't include the extra hours that they may ask for.
Yeah, so in the contract, so like right now, you'll see,
Right.
the school wanted the SRO there an extra half hour, like in the morning. So you'll see a half hour, so we're gonna get, say we go with the 75,000 is the final number, it'll be 7,500 every month, 10 months, and then whatever overtime is out there. And then all the sporting events is a separate entity from that. That's basically for the 40 hours, at the school and the 8 at this grade school.
Seems okay to me. Any other discussion? Motion, all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Where's the document you want us to sign? Oh, no,
That
and
was,
part of that, and I'll also, because I didn't make it as part of the original motion, aren't we gonna make a motion for you to sign for this?
if you want to, I was gonna nitpick it, but we probably should.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we have allowed Joe to sign for, this is one of those
You wanna
that
just
probably
amend?
should. Can I amend my motion?
I can't remember, do a separate one.
I'll do a separate one that just, I'd like to make a motion to allow the town manager to sign the SRO contract.
Motion by Glenn,
Second.
second by Rod. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Joe, you get to sign it.
I'm gonna wait until the 22nd to sign it, so that way I can do that.
Huh.
Yeah, I've already let him know.
You're an oddball.
Yes, I am.
You could state it, you
No.
know. Town Highway 63, Class 4 road.
Yeah, so this particular road has come up to bite me a couple of times. several times a year for the last 4 years. The young lady that lives at the bottom of Town Highway 63, her house is right on South Main. When it snows, she comes and she tells me, she says, "Joe, you gotta plow that road." And I say, "I can't plow that road, it's a Class 4 road." And we do this several times a year, every year for 4 years. So I promised her I would see what I could do, and as it's a policy, I'm not gonna break that policy. But I thought I'd bring it to the Board of Selectmen and see what their opinion was.
Isn't this very similar to the conversation we had on the other side of town?
Yes, almost identical, yeah.
With like, the Bait Road there?
That's not.
Oh, no, that's not a Class 4 road.
No,
No, but the idea
but to
of,
plow it, they had to bring it up to Class 3 standards, the town would have to take, and we'd have to sign off, which they decided not to do.
It's closer to, that's similar, but it would be closer to the road that goes past the water department, the water
Out.
plant. What's that road?
The Northwoods,
oh,
out
that's
by the
Class 4,
Reeds.
Lynn's Road.
Yeah,
Lynn's Road.
that's a Class 4 road that we don't plow.
I just
It-
plowed that,
it's-
sorry.
thank you.
That was brutal. Good choice not doing that.
So it's similar to that, it's just, it's a road we don't and haven't plowed because of the policy that just says we're not doing that. But I told the young lady I would see what I could do to help, and here I am.
And I just wanna ask the question, because I wanna come back to the Guy LeBate thing and whatever. If this young lady wanted to take and petition to have that road turned to a Class 3 road, there's something that allows her to
Doesn't it?
come and ask to have it changed to something other than the Class 4, is that open to her as well? I just wanna,
I could suggest that to her, yeah.
not that I'm saying that's the avenue to go, but the whole point is we're treating her, and what I hear with your recommendation, we don't wanna treat her any differently than anyone else who lives on a Class 4 road that we do not plow the road. That's really what it boils down to, right?
Exactly right.
Isn't that in our new Class 4 policy that was adopted
It is.
tonight,
It
very
is.
clearly?
Yes,
It
and
is.
it was very clear in the old Class 4
what
policy,
I thought.
which I did supply to the young lady.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know where.
Basically, she, if I understand,
Go ahead.
she wants the Class 4 road plowed up as far so she can get in her driveway and not have to plow from South Main Street all the way up to the driveway.
I want my driveway plowed too, but
Well,
it isn't plowed for free either. I just,
I'm
yeah.
just saying, you know, that Highway 63 goes straight up and
Mhm.
50 yards up is her driveway.
Yeah, well,
Right.
so I'm just going,
Yeah, I
If
don't
you're-
think there's much we can do.
right,
Just 'cause
I don't know what you're,
Otherwise, we're gonna be plowing every Class 4 road.
right.
Right,
And-
how do you,
I guess we can defer to Aaron and see what he thinks about that, but
Oh, yeah, I can imagine, I
Absolutely.
can imagine.
not to make light of it, but I think she's gotta do her driveway.
When I see the young lady, I will let her know that we've done what we could, and I'll provide her with the other information.
The only roads we plow are Class 3 roads, right? So,
Yeah, three,
it
two,
was-
one,
2 and 3, so.
yeah. Okay. Thank,
Mhm.
Parking lot, you don't have anything? Oh, look, we can take the Class 4 policy out.
I think we can cross out
Man.
the Class 4 policy and we gain.
nice.
yeah, but now it's lopsided list.
Oh, Joe will find something else.
Okay.
I forgot, there was something we just talked about earlier, I was gonna say throw on there.
Let's leave it for the new, let's leave it for the new board, they can find
If-
something to throw in there.
I was just looking through my notes, like, I know there was something, I would say, let me throw that on there,
That's
and
what
keep bringing it up, but.
We're gonna have 3 or 4 things that I think are gonna be coming off this.
Sure.
In another week,
That's the
Yep.
goal.
2 weeks, yeah.
It's nice to make headway on those
Is there
lists.
anything on here that needs
Uh,
discussion at the moment?
no, the EDC did meet last night, and we talked about the inclusion policy. If
And we have a proposal coming at the next available agenda.
Yeah.
The agenda can.
I did, that's on the next, yeah.
Roundtable? Moving on roundtable or not yet?
There's nothing for me here, that's, doing
Roundtable,
great.
Rod,
I did have something, but I forgot what it was. Forgot.
I'm good.
Only because there's a note on the warrant. What is the difference between de-icer and salt? I don't know, I got a bill in here for $7,200 in de-icer. Is that just salt?
Salt.
Okay,
That
Just-
amount, yes, that's just the salt.
7,274. It's gotta be load of salt, right? I thought it was,
Yep.
but I
No,
just,
we haven't received a load of liquid, we're due for one, but we haven't received a load of liquid.
okay,
That would be on the warrant right now.
okay. Would that be coded differently in your budget?
Some
Ma-
of it, sometimes, so depending on the time of the season, when we use it in the summertime, I'd, put it in.
You may just wanna make sure that it's appropriately coded in the computer.
Mm.
So you don't blow up your budget with a $10,000, a $7,000 thing.
There's no real line for it, so it sits
Okay.
between calcium in the summer for dirt or dust control, and wintertime would be calcium
Salt,
or salt.
okay, so it's not a big thing. That's all. That's all I got. So, financial reports.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the payroll warrant to the tune of $35,473.00.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Rod, seconded by Glenn. Payroll warrant, $35,473. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the general fund warrant for $84,933.37.
I'll second that.
Motion by Rod, seconded by Glenn to pay the general fund warrant, $84,933.37. Discussion? There was de-icer and something else we're big in that.
Playground equipment.
Playground equipment,
25,000 in playground equipment?
That was, she moved,
That's a movement of.
yeah, that was the movement of the money.
Okay.
But to make it clean, she cut a check and then redeposited it into the right account.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I'll look up checkbook while we're. Sorry. $1,215,153 in the checkbook.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session with the town manager, for a discussion under 1 DSA 313A1.
Second.
Motion by Glenn, second by Rod to go into executive session, with the town manager, for contract discussion. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.